I'm tired of the hype. What phones actually deliver here in 2025, it's kind of boring. Let's be real. Welcome back to the Morning Eckerman channel, and today we're going to talk about a poll that I just released on my main channel talking about, have phones become boring? Are they not worth the hype? And to be real, I just want to vent a little bit about this because I think it's something that some people ignore, but it's definitely been a common topic that you see across the industry in comments of YouTube videos. It doesn't matter if it's a review, a blog, whatever. If you see a new phone launch, you're going to see comments of people saying, same thing as last year, boring, not upgrading. This is becoming a common trend right now. And honestly, I'm also getting a little bit burnt out on the hype of it. Every year, it feels like the same basic thing. And then we see phones like this with a single camera. This is the 16E. Like, not pushing the edge at all. These very safe, easy to make money profit phones. And I get it, like companies want to stay in business. They want to make money, like duh. Like that's the point of having a business, to keep the cash flowing. But at the same time, every year it feels the same. Like it's not exciting as it used to be. And even though specs look great on paper, like this having a nicer camera spec, nicer overall camera control button on this 16, action button specification right there. Basically, when you actually use it, this phone actually doesn't feel much different than using an iPhone 14 or even an iPhone 15. It feels like basically the same thing when it comes to the core experience. And so I think it's really software that needs to change a lot, especially on iOS. But also, you're seeing this happen across other phones as well, like even Samsung's One UI, Google Pixel, like those phones also, the software, they do have upgrades and changes, and you can customize them to your heart's content, but the core software hasn't really been making the bigger changes like it used to back in the day. And so for that reason, I'm just kind of feeling like, what are these phones really delivering here? And the performance is not really a problem. I mean, even the base iPhone 16 here has an Apple A18. It has 8 gigabytes of RAM. So we don't have a problem with performance. We don't really have a problem with heating anymore, as the 16 addressed that. We also have been seeing that being addressed in other phone makers as well. Like thermals used to be a problem, but that's starting to get addressed as well. I do think they can always work on battery life, but we're getting to a point where battery life, I think, is enough for most people. Usually these phones can last a full day, and then some, especially the bigger ones, can last a little bit longer. And so generally the battery doesn't seem to be a huge concern anymore. So the software, definitely is the area that can really be improved. And I'm not just talking about iPhone. This is just the phone I'm using for the example here. I think the cameras are also a bit overhyped. Like we see phones like this. We also see Android phones with multiple camera arrays and setups. And so basically, like, even though you see like these huge camera lenses in some of these phones, when it comes to what you're actually going to use with some of these products, it's basically like you're just taking pictures. You're just going to post on social. You might save some pictures for your memories. And the majority of the people are not going to be using these as pro-level devices. Like those commercials and the marketing you see about professional use and this was shot on iPhone. That's a very rare subset of people, and it's just not very common across the market. Most people are just slapping a case on this and using this as a regular day-to-day camera just to snap some of their memories. And while I'm not against them getting better, of course I want them to get better, I just don't feel like they do anything different now than they did maybe even 5 years ago. I remember back in 2020 when the iPhone 12 came out, that phone was very similar to what I experience now on the 16. Of course, the camera quality has gotten better, the video quality, they've introduced a few features, cinematic, 4K is a little bit better, but I mean, we still have 4K 60 on an older iPhone 12 on the rear and the front, and it's still on this phone, still no 8K, nothing like that, but that's just one specification on this base level 16 right here. But the phones that are actually impressing me nowadays in daily use are basically devices that give me a little bit more for the money. So I actually really like something like the Pixel 9a. While it's not the most aesthetically pleasing to everybody. I think these phones that are giving you a lot of value for the money right now are definitely kind of exciting. Some of the other phones out there, especially like some of the Chinese brands, are really pushing with new features, but I don't really love the software, and it's not a good long-term choice for me, so I don't really care too much. What I want to see is Apple and Samsung and Pixel push it even better, give us something a little bit more revolutionary. Some people have the argument too that, you can't really do much more. They've done just about everything they could do with these phones. I tend to disagree. You can always do more. If you want to know what I mean, well, let me elaborate. First of all, we can get to a truly bezel-less design. Now, is that going to change your life either? Not really, because it's been proven with the 16 Pro and Pro Max, stretching near screen to screen hasn't really changed too much. But we can get rid of this. We can have a full screen phone, which would change the viewing experience of the device. Really work on changing the icons, the software up, and giving a split screen here on the iPhone would be a big deal, I would say. So that's definitely something that I think would help out quite a bit as well. And then not only that, but also what else can they improve? They can start to offer 120 hertz across these base iPhones. In addition, some of these competing mid-range budget Android phones are already doing that. But what the heck is going on? Like, it's just like they're not delivering the excitement they used to do. And it could be just a product of basically, these phones are pretty mature. This market has been saturated. There's so many options that makes it boring. They've also gotten so good that it's just like any other thing. When a bunch of cars get good, doesn't matter which brand you go with, they're all pretty good. When shoes get good, doesn't matter if you go with Nikes or you go with, Hoka's or whatever you want to go with, they're all going to be pretty good. Same here. It's getting to that point as well. So the revolution of the smartphone is pretty much over. And now we're just kind of like evolving them slowly but surely. But it feels to me like they're just trying to maintain the profits, a lot of these brands these days, and not really trying to go to the next level with innovations. But that might change when we see something like the iPhone Fold. But then again, they're just entering a market that already exists with folding Android phones. What I actually want to see, though, is kind of like maybe bring back a mini phone. Maybe like do things that are just a little bit different to really bring back the excitement. Longer battery life would be nice, but it's just time to see some bigger changes, if you will. So my final thoughts is that yes, the specs are just not really worth the hype anymore. Even though when we see some of these, they're exciting at first, it tends to fade very quickly. I mean, I remember covering this when it first came out, and people were excited temporarily. A couple months went by, they already forgot that it was the brand new phone. It's just like, oh, another iPhone, another year, goodbye. You get what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to sound like a Debbie Downer. What I am trying to say, though, is that the hype, it's kind of slowing. And I don't know if these phones are ever going to deliver like they used to. But what they deliver now is basically excellence in most areas, excellent battery life, screens, cameras. I mean, this one's kind of boring here, but you don't really see something radically different. So that's why a lot of these other makers are starting to get quite interesting, like the Nothing phone, for example, or when you see like a crazy trifold phone or something like that. That's why those become a little bit more exciting. But I think this might change when Apple brings the iPhone Fold. That's going to be a game changer, I think, for the brand. But let me know your thoughts. Am I off base here? Are you tired of the hype? What do you think phones are just kind of boring and they're not delivering like they used to? Let me know down below in the comments section of this video. And thank you for watching the Morning Ackerman channel. I'll catch you on the next episode. Be sure to be well, and peace.